Coming up on Concordia Reports, celebrating Halloween, fighting in the NHL, and questioning Canada's role in Afghanistan.
Hi, welcome to this edition of Concordia Reports from Beaver Lake up on Mount Royal. I'm Ben Raby.
And I'm Sarah-Ève Leblond.
Also today, the future of Park Avenue, plus a commentary from Jared Book.
But first, Halloween is just around the corner, and that means more than just candy and costumes. Ida Jurgensen reports from the Blainville Halloween Festival.
Some people got their Halloween scare a little early this year as the Blainville Halloween Festival opened last weekend. This is the festival's third edition and is expected to attract more than 200,000 visitors, in spite of some difficult weather to begin with. People come in costumes. They arrive with smiles, and today it's finally sunny. Yesterday we had to cancel because of the rain. The festival is part of what has become big business in costumes and candy. An Ipsos Reid survey found that last year Canadians spent $57 each on Halloween. That totals up to $1.1 billion. But that didn't seem to matter at Blainville, where each had their favorite activity to take care of.
Le basket. Ouais, la maison hantée, là.
Kiosque d'information, il y a un certain...
Les déguisements des personnes, puis les différentes affaires qu'ils font, là.
Among the festival's attractions is Quebec's largest haunted house, as well as live shows for both the young and old.
Et c'est extraordinaire. L'ambiance ici était formidable. Bye bye à tout le monde.
Okay.
Je disparais.
The Blainville Halloween Festival will in fact be over before the actual day of Halloween, but it will be open today, tomorrow, and on Sunday. For Concordia Reports, I'm Ida Jurgensen.
Although most of us have passed our trick-or-treating days, that doesn't mean we still can't have a little bit of fun with the holiday. Corey Rapkin, or his alter ego, spoke to a few Concordia students to find out how they feel about celebrating the holiday.
Are you dressing up when you come to school on that Tuesday, or?
I haven't for the past few years, but I should get back into it.
What are you dressing up as for Halloween?
I'm planning to dress up as Gandhi. I'm gonna grow a big thick mustache, okay, maybe dyed gray. I'm gonna shave my head again, and I'm gonna put some sort of, copper makeup all over my entire body, and I'm gonna wear one of those white, what do you call them, doshi, yeah. So, and then maybe practice my accent.
Halloween this year promises to be similar to previous ones, except for one thing: pumpkins. Pumpkin crops have decreased down to 20% this year due to heavy rains and extreme heat. Farmhouse owner Marie Théoret explains that every year yields a different crop. Good pumpkin crops depend on the temperature we have during the spring season. The period you choose to sow your pumpkin seeds is what's critical.
This month marks the 5th year anniversary of Canada's mission to Afghanistan. With 42 soldiers dead and many obstacles still in the way, Canadians at home have little reason to celebrate. Concordia Reports' Nourhan El Hakim in Parliament Hill. She spoke with the Afghan ambassador to Canada, and she joins us now, and Nourhan, becoming quite apparent that Canadians just not happy with this mission.
That's right, Ben. Recent polls indicate that 48 to 62% of Canadians not only question but oppose our engagement of troops in this war-torn country. Critics argue that while the Canadian mainstream media has been promoting our role in Afghanistan, national consensus is far from reality.
Thank you, Nourhan, and now let's hear from the Afghan ambassador.
Canadians that are currently against Canada's presence in Afghanistan, what do you have to say to these people? What do you have to ask from them?
I would say that to me what matters, and I think it should matter to them also, is what the average Afghan man and woman thinks and feels about his or her country inside Afghanistan. They matter.
The Afghan people.
Their freedom matters, their liberty matters, their aspirations for a better life matters, their wish for dignity in human rights, in democracy matters.
And these
So
are all
those things matter. If they really care about Afghanistan, they should take into consideration the wishes of the Afghan people. Otherwise, it's politics for their own sake.
Because Canada is helping to help the Afghan nation achieve these dreams, these wishes.
It's not just Canada.
The international community.
The international community as a whole has understood the value and the importance of Afghanistan and standing by Afghanistan, because we all learned a very big lesson a few years ago.
How would you say Canada is benefiting from its involvement, from its presence in Afghanistan?
It's not a question of benefiting. For once, Afghanistan doesn't have oil or gas or gold, or is not a country that is as some people say we are in Iraq, or the Americans are in Iraq, or the West is in Iraq because of oil.
Yeah, but there is of course the 3.2 billion pipeline project.
It's a pipeline,
which will bring oil into Pakistan.
It's just a pipeline going from one country to another, crossing through Afghanistan.
And Chrétien investing in this, as we know, and whatnot, is not.
That pipeline is not even the pipeline hasn't been built. The pipeline is not even in the stages of being built. The pipeline is still in feasibility studies.
Sure, the accusations.
But that has nothing to do. That is an Afghan decision to allow companies to come and build a pipeline.
Yeah, what a popular accusation is that countries, including Canada, are in the country in Afghanistan specifically to, help develop and have a reconstructive effect on the country to achieve the goal of eventually continuing that project and, of course, benefiting from it.
You mean one project that will involve dozens of companies from around the world, maybe 1 or 2 Canadian companies, maybe, if they win the tenders?
A $3.2 billion.
I'm saying dozens of companies is worth billions of dollars that Canada is spending. I mean, I don't understand the arithmetic here. Canada is spending billions of dollars in military and foreign aid for Afghanistan, and it has accepted casualties in return for what?
So you're saying the investment is not worth it?
No, this argument is a flawed argument. This is a very flawed argument to say that Canada is in Afghanistan because of a pipeline issue. I actually had never heard of it before.
The Afghan government is, I would say, probably increasingly under pressure with various accusations. Of course, we mentioned also the opium problem, one that in fact was better controlled under Taliban rule. So how are the people of Afghanistan, if I may ask, better off under the current government than they were under the Taliban rule? And
that's a question that I think that, for example, women in Canada should ask women in Afghanistan. I think that they would have such a clear indication of how more than half of the population who used to live in conditions less desirable than animals, where they had no rights whatsoever.
Is it not true, though, that some of the members of Parliament or whatnot are actually imposing some of those ideologies even now?
No. I mean, people,
individuals
can have those kind of ideas. That's different than being able to turn them into law and imposing them. The Taliban used to use whips to impose this on women on the streets of Kabul and other Afghan cities. They used to execute women in sports stadiums because somebody had said that this woman had an affair with some men. They executed women under the burqa.
I see.
Those things do not happen anymore in Afghanistan.
Ambassador Samad, thank you very much for taking time out of your...
A large crowd of curious students gathered earlier this week to hear controversial author and speaker Ellie Claire discuss gender empowerment. Co-sponsored by the Union for Gender Empowerment and Queer McGill, Claire discussed the emotional experiences of living inside a body that defies society's standards. As a disabled, white, and genderqueer man, Ellie Claire's views and opinions challenge the prejudices of today's society. And during this lecture, he rang the bell of truth.
Celebrations for the Metro's 40th anniversary come to an end on Monday. Throughout October, free concerts have been put on in various Metro stations, with free bus and Metro passes given away at random. Metro opened in October 1966 during the boom of Montreal's economic expansion. Since then, it has grown from 26 stations across the island of Montreal to 65, with expansion in Laval set to open next summer. It remains the only subway system to run on tires, with an estimated 284 million users every year. Meantime, as one Montreal landmark celebrates its past, another is unsure of its future. The proposed name change of Park Avenue to Robert Bourassa Boulevard will be put to a vote. The proposed change has been met with much opposition, more than 5,000 signatures appearing on an online petition. Those who oppose the change stress the historical and cultural value of the street. Park Avenue is home to a number of Montreal restaurants and businesses, and to the city's Little Greece.
We will be turning our clocks back 1 hour this Sunday, but does anyone really know why? Faraz Karmali has all the details.
This Sunday at 2 a.m., we'll have to put our clocks to 1 a.m. We'll be going back to standard time from daylight saving time. The idea here is to use that longer daylight that starts in the spring to all of its potential. This way, that extra hour of daylight from the early morning that's not really useful to anyone except for farmers will be moved to the evening. We do this by putting our clocks 1 hour ahead on the first Sunday of April. We put our clocks back 1 hour on the first Sunday of October. This Sunday at 2 a.m., it will be 1 a.m. So for all of you hitting the clubs this Saturday night, everybody in the club get tipsy. Everybody in the club get tipsy. You could really take advantage of this, if you know what I mean. And on Monday morning, well, everybody can take advantage, except for farmers. For Concordia Reports, I'm Faraz Karmali.
Some would argue that the sports industry is produced by men, for men. Jared Book, a man himself, takes a look at how the male-dominated industry affects the women who are a part of it.
Clifford Franklin, terrific day today.
Yeah, today was a good day for Clifford Franklin. And Clifford Franklin can't wait till tomorrow, because Clifford Franklin gets better looking every day. We really just began to, scratch the surface to the talent of Clifford Franklin. Clifford Franklin had moves even Clifford Franklin ain't seen yet.
Ole, 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 ole. Hey, cheers, babes.
I think we got it.
Women reporters may not be treated like that anymore in the locker room, but many people believe it isn't where it should be.
Good afternoon, I'm Andy Bennett with your Team 990 Sports Update. It's Game 3 of the World Series.
Andy Bennett is the only female reporter at Montreal sports radio station, the Team 990. She says that there are still issues that come up when there is a woman dealing with men in sports.
You also have to remember sometimes where you are, like I don't expect to walk in here and be spoken to the same way I would be if I was a legal aid or something. It's not, you kind of have to take things with a grain of salt when you're a woman working in a male-dominated sports environment.
I do that just for you guys.
Bennett takes part in the Drive Home show, Melnick in the Afternoon, which talks about different issues that come up in sports. As the only woman, does she feel alone?
Sometimes I do, because it seems like every time a topic comes up of women's rights or anything to do with women in sports, everybody kind of like swivels and looks at me, so I have to be the defender for women in every aspect, which that's fine, but at the same time, I've always kind of grown up one of the boys.
Just as women sports reporters are starting to become more commonplace, women in their own locker rooms are also getting more attention. Teresa Humes was named Concordia's Director of Women Athletics in 1978, a post she held until 1985. She made major changes in the way women's sports was looked at Concordia. Humes has a women's hockey tournament in her name that is hosted by the university every January. Les Lawton has been Concordia University's women's hockey coach for 24 years. He has seen the major changes to women's sports both at Concordia and in North America. He says Humes had a major impact.
She made sure that women had the same opportunities as men, from type of schedule that they had, equipment that they had, practice time. So internally she put a lot of pressure on the administration to make sure that women's sport was respected and looked on as something that was positive for female athletes that were coming to Concordia.
One of the things that has plagued women's sports is the idea that sex sells. The media seems to focus more on athletes that look good than athletes that win.
You know, it's the same time, it's the same training, it's the same sacrifices for female athletes, whether you're hot or not. So it's kind of unfortunate that that's what the media seems to focus on. And
It's unfair in a sense that we always have to do this in order to promote our sports. Yes, it is. Men's don't have to do the same, you know?
There's also an increase in the amount of female coaches, although at Concordia, men coach all of the women's teams, something Lawton and Breton see changing.
I would almost guarantee that you're going to see a lot more women coaching women's sport, and maybe some of them might be coaching some men's sport.
Of course, there is room for men coaches, but we need to get more women's in there. And myself, maybe one day I'll be a head coach, who knows?
Things are looking up for women in sports, but until they finish up even with the men, they are still facing an uphill battle. For Concordia Reports, I'm Jared Book.
To fight or not to fight? That is the question. In the new NHL, that is. For us, Carmali has all the details.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Hockey fights. Love them or hate them, they're part of the game. But for how long? Fighting has been in a slump since the NHL came back in 2005 following a year lockout. With a new set of rules and a major crackdown on penalties that favor a more open, entertaining style of hockey, fighting has taken a back seat to special teams and shootouts. The critics aren't complaining though.
Shows the kids too much violence.
Another critic is Nashville Predators general manager David Poile. In a 2004 USA Today sports article, Poile says, and I quote, "I'm vehemently opposed to fighting. One of the objectives of sport should be to teach kids about self-control." To Mr. Poile, I present PJ Stock, former NHL tough guy, and that's all 5 feet 10, 190 pounds of him. PJ is currently working at Team 990, where he hosts his own show, The Stock Exchange. It was in Boston where PJ had the most success as he took on the role of enforcer against bigger but not badder opponents. He believes that vigilante justice is necessary in hockey to make sure that cheap shots like this don't happen too often.
You cheap shot my player, well, you're going to have to pay the price. And he knows he's going to have to pay the price. So many guys are free to do whatever they want. You can stick a guy, you can say what you want, you can hit a guy, you know, you don't have to fight.
And what about the fans? What do they think? Should fighting be eliminated?
No way. No way. Fighting's the best thing.
Definitely not. It's something that I think is part of the game.
Fighting, I find, it's part of the game. It brings the fans into it. Personally, I don't think it should be eliminated. It alters what can happen in a game and everything. I'm for it, personally.
According to the National Hockey League, fighting is down by 42% since 2003-2004, the last time the league had a season prior to the lockout. Now, just to give you an idea of what this means, in 2003-2004, there were a total of 789 fights. Last year, 466. Although the numbers speak for themselves, it's hard to tell at this point whether the league will ever speak for all fans and completely eliminate fighting. One thing's for sure though, Paul Morris and the Maple Leafs are in town tomorrow night for another Toronto-Montreal Classic as they take on Guy Carbonneau and the Habs right here at the Bell Center. And this one is likely to have a fight. For Concordia Reports, I'm Faraz Karmali.
Concordia may be in the heart of one of North America's greatest sports towns, but apparently the memo hasn't reached all of the student body. Once again, here's Jared Book, this time with his take on why so many Concordia students turn their backs on supporting the Stingers.
I'm not alone when I'm an Alouettes fan, and I'm not alone when I'm a Canadiens fan, but when I'm a Stingers fan, so why don't students come to Concordia games? Tickets are only $3, the games provide excitement, and they're a great way to show school spirit. There isn't much, if any, school spirit at Concordia. In fact, I don't think a majority of students would be able to tell me what Concordia's colors are. They are maroon, and gold. So go out to a Stingers game in any sport and scream at the top of your lungs. The athletes will thrive on the added support because it's about time Stinger pride catches on. For Concordia Reports, I'm Jared Book.
That's it for this edition of Concordia Reports. If you missed part of it or would like to see portions of it again, you can visit youtube.com and type in the search menu Concordia Reports.
And I'm Sarah Leblond, and on behalf of my colleague Ben Raby, we both wish you a good weekend and a happy Halloween. Goodbye. Mr. Downey, this is all for you, for your love.